Oh, absolutely. And you guys know I judge, right? So judging in the wintertime, I mean, when you're judging those top 8 or 9 groups at WGI finals, I mean, you're nitpicking. You're
Oh yeah,
diving in.
you're
I
splitting
do
hairs.
music. I do music every year, and it's like, and then not, and I occasionally do that. They rotate us around, obviously, but when I have the opportunity to judge that class, I mean, it's like you are in the trenches, man, trying to figure out what are they playing and who's playing it the best. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of glossed over that section, but you've been teaching or judging WGI since like 94. I think really started judging in 99, but
Yeah.
the evolution of that
Oh,
activity has just been
crazy.
wild.
Yeah, it's
What are
crazy.
your thoughts on that, of just like the vocabulary or the show
Oh,
design or like what?
I mean, like think about it. Even if I compare it to drum corps to auditionees coming in to try out, the comparison now compared to even 15 years ago to the level of talent that's coming through the door is not even close. It's not even close. I mean, I look at it now like we're so blessed in the drum corps community because of WGI, in my opinion, because of all the talent that is just cultivated for 12 months of the year now. I mean,
Well,
it's crazy.
what I think is crazy on that same note is I've said this before about like just the average of the activity just keeps getting better and better, like the middle
Oh yeah.
ground. And you look at,
Uh-huh.
like you're saying, the quality of auditionee, the amount of information and practice things that are on YouTube now that we didn't have even 10, 15 years ago, and kids have
Yeah.
so much more
Access to
exposure.
information.
I think back to the level of player that I was when I made Blue Stars in 2010. My
Mhm.
first summer of drum corps, all I'd done was an open class indoor group in Kentucky before that, and then one fall season at Moorhead or something. And I was not even close to the level of playing ability and sound quality that probably half of auditionees have, like the middle of the road at every top 12 drum corps now at every camp. Like, it is so much more cutthroat to get these limited number of spots because of the
Yeah.
level of talent just keeps getting better and better and better. And you see some kids that get cut from groups and you're like, I made this group 9 years ago and you're way better than I was probably after I marched the summer.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's amazing now. And I mean, if there's any criticism, kids today come in, they know how to play a ton of different things, but maybe they don't know the foundation in
The
terms
sound
of the
quality,
quality,
that's
and
you.
right.
That,
There is some of that because you're not really learning that on YouTube. That's not cool. You're learning how to
the
do
hybrid
the
rudiments and the weird, like,
right.
I was
Yes.
just having a conversation with me and Mike have a group text with some other people, and we were just having a conversation. It's like, man, like I even when I was teaching a world class indoor ensemble that made finals, like my critique with kids is like we would start gridding stuff. It's like, all right, you guys know flam drag grid. All right, now let's do flam drag on 2, where we start with the accent, flams on the second partial, diddles on the third partial. And I was just like, what?
what?
I was like, all right, now let's move it again. Diddle on 1. Now let's move this. And like just the foundation thing was like
Brains
it's like
explode.
it's
And
like, all right, let's play 8 and 25, and
this is what shocked me
instead
the
of
most.
rolls, we're gonna play eighth note check pattern and then 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 3 3 3 3 3 3, and like they can play threes, but the
Right.
For a
chops to
short
play it
period of
for
time.
8 bars
For a
is
short
like
Right.
not
period of
there.
time.
And I was
And
like,
No,
that's
you're
that
right.
I was
YouTube.
like, you guys have no chops.
That's dude.
Yeah.
So Evan taught that group in 13, was it, Evan? And then I taught the snare line at the same group in 14. Same thing. I actually took a couple
I'm
kids for
talking
that
about the
snare
group I
line.
taught 19, 20, 21.
Oh, okay, recently. This was
Same
years
thing.
ago when I taught that group. But like, even in the 14 when I taught them, like, I took a couple kids that could not, like, 2 high school kids that were from the high school Evan went to, because those kids had a good foundation from the instructor that was still there that Evan had, and other staff members, like the guy running the group, was like, "You really think those two?" I was like, "Trust me, they've got a better foundation of sound quality, rhythm, and hitting the drum the right way than the other 2 kids you all want to take. They might not know how to play all the flashy stuff or have like play rolls at a roll at 220, but I'll get them there. Like, just trust me." And I was
Yeah.
shocked. Like, the level of sound quality wasn't there, but they could play all this crazy stuff. It blew my mind.
I can play every lick. I know I can because I can play every grid you put in front of me.
Yep.
So
There you go. There you go. You were taught well, Evan.
Eric Ward, Justin Fisher,
Yeah.
Chris Logue, those early Moorhead.
I grew up
Yeah.
eating grids for breakfast pretty much in high school.
But on the topic of like how crazy the licks and the arrangements have got, how do you feel like that has changed your arranging or the evolution of your writing style or trying to like keep up with the Joneses?
I think as an arranger, you have to be studying everything that's going on around you constantly, including the WGI activity. I mean, like I say, I have the opportunity to sit down in front most of the time, and I'm involved in seeing the evolution of the writing throughout there, and then I was just last couple of weeks I've been just watching drum corps for the last 2 years and just watching everybody and seeing what they're doing, what they're not doing, whatever, right? Just watching everybody's doing something great out there. The percussion programs are amazing nowadays. It's unbelievable. I could watch the whole top 12 and go, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's really good. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, that's good. Everybody's got strengths, all over the place. So I'm excited. As an arranger too, I sit there. I'm old school. I still write by hand. I'm, as some of the guys like to say, I have my stone and my chisel, but I like to play it, on a pad and, get an understanding of how it's feeling in my hands. And then I'll write it out. And, I like to do it that way. I guess that's still old school. I know it's kind of crazy, but I like to play through the stuff to understand, cause I'm also a tech first. I want to make sure we can clean this and it's going to be, how it's going to come from a tech's point of view. And then obviously the player and making sure that it feels well and going into this sticking or what have you. But then I also talked about before the collaborative approach too. Like, okay, like for instance, I just wrote the opener for the cadets and I sent it round to the caption heads. I sent it to Travis, I sent it to Jake, I sent it to James. It's like, okay, what do we think, man? What about this? What do you guys think of this right here? And we would go back and forth and till we come up with a final draft and, we send it out to the members. So I think that's kind of how it is with me in my world nowadays, to make sure that we're all, keeping up with the Joneses, if you will. But also my thing is also the music needs to drive it. The music needs to drive what you're writing. It can't be crazy that it doesn't make any sense. I got to make sure that it's going to make, in certain parts that I'm supporting what the brass is doing. Yeah, maybe it might sound boring from a battery standpoint sometimes, but I'm supporting what the brass is doing. That's what the most important thing is. There is the ensemble, So you got to pick your spots.
We've had Unk say that on here, Macintosh, Skojo, like all the greats and stuff said the same stuff, just like you just said, like just about the show, the product, the final product. It's all got to work together the right way. It's not about any one subsection being able to shine the way they need to for X, Y, or Z. It's like, are we putting together a cohesive, competitive, enjoyable package?
That's right.
And that's what the most important thing is.
Yeah. And I try not to get locked up into, yeah, but they're doing this. Like, okay, that's great for them. I want to make sure we're doing what we're doing, Like I said, I'd like to study other groups of what they're doing, but I want to make sure we have our identity of what we're doing, if that makes any sense,
I
keep going. I'm going to grab a beer.
I can't remember if this was like, I feel like I 100% heard you say this too, so you can validate it, but you were talking about us one summer and this and that, and we were drumming, and you were like, well, I put it on the page. I want to hear it. But I feel like that idea is still in existence in drum corps, but also it's shifted a little bit based on like just the rule changes and how they happen and how people derange. Do you feel like that creeps into your mindset at all when you're like thinking about like, where's the battery stage? Like we can take some risk right here, but also maybe this isn't a section we want to spend like 50% of our summer working on. So,
well, it's funny, I remember battling this when we were going through the judging. If you want to talk about judging for a second, like, when we took the guy off the field, the judge off the field, and he can only come up. So we got to come up to the front now to present whatever you're doing. And then it's so crazy. It's like, I can't believe we're even doing that nowadays. I'd rather just I really go to the show first, and then obviously you got it. If you want to be competitive, you have to think of those times where you're coming up to present, and then go back again to be in the ensemble. So
I've almost seen some moments in this new world we live in from a judging standpoint and the show design realm we have to live in now, or designers. I don't design shows, obviously, but there's times where it's little awkward to me, where like it's almost like everything gets out of the way. All right, it's time for our indoor drumline moment on the drum corps field, instead of it all kind of flowing seamlessly. I don't know. I've seen moments like that where I'm like, oh, so now we just have indoor for the next 40 seconds, and then it'll go back to drum corps here in a minute. It's just, I don't know.
It's so important to me to make sure it makes sense with the overall program of what you're trying to do, or it's going to sound forced. It's just going to sound forced, right? And I mean, I think the good groups do that. They do that well. They present the program the way they should. And so, you know, that's kind of, you asked about that. I think somebody brought up one time, like, you know, when we brought up this judge, like somebody was asking me, so how are you going to write now when they're behind the brass? I'm like, I'm going to write more notes now, because nobody cares. Nobody cares what they're doing back there now. Now we can play how we want back. You know, it's going to be like, okay, let's try this. You know.
Hell yeah.
I'd rather go that way. I'd rather go that way than, you know, being tacit or not, you know, playing 8 notes to keep everybody in time, whatever, you know. I'd rather do that. You know?
Yeah, maybe now we can use it as a section of like, can we actually do this shit or not?
Yeah, we'll test it there. We'll test it in this part of the show. Then we'll put it in the feature later once we know they can do it, and then put some easy stuff back there afterwards.
God knows what the ensemble will sound like.
Oh, man.
I really support it's about supporting the music and the brass and the front ensemble, whatever we're trying to do. And not like trying to be forceful, you know?
Do you feel like the rule change has like adjusted your amount of conversations with the visual staff and drill design team?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, of course. You have to be on the same page of what you're doing and how you're being evaluated.
Right.
You know, and they got to know, hey, when we have a percussion feature, you can't put them on the back hash.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you're trying to do that to hide something.
Because
you know?
the rule is like 6 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at first it was going to be not on the field. I'm like, well, what if the drum line comes up? Can we not put them on a couple of feet? That at least they can do that. But you know, and I get it. It's a health and safety thing, and I mean, it is crazy. You know, when I go out, I do run after the kids. I go out there and run. At times to figure, you know, so I can get in there. It's kind of crazy nowadays.
Just have 2 judges at regionals and finals. Just have a field judge and a battery and a front judge. There it is.
Well, we used to have 2 judges.
Yeah,
we used to have 2 judges, and for exactly that reason. And then one of the years, all of a sudden, it went away. I don't know what happened, but you know.
And I just saw somebody propose the rule that they changed the music analysis judge, the second one, to like an overall
brass.
Brass. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm like, my thought there is like, okay, if you're going to do that, then let's have the percussion ensemble guy back again. You know, like what are we doing? What are we doing?
We talked to Scott.
Like,
so no. we talked to Scott Johnson on the previous episode before this one, and he said something that I had never thought about, and it was so simple. And he said, look, why this is a type of percussion ensemble you literally cannot hear in any other area, avenue, arena on the planet. This level of marching ensemble, front ensemble, battery, why are we screwing this up? Why are we not giving the right evaluation level to make sure we are the best group is going to win every year from a design, playing, give members credit they deserve? This is the only place you can see this. Why would we not want to highlight this as something that's like, you're not going to get... You can see really high-level dance and movement and choreography elsewhere. You can see phenomenal wind ensembles elsewhere.
You can even see phenomenal percussion ensemble, like literature.
But not this style of percussion ensemble.
No, you're right.
This is the pinnacle. Why would we not want to do this the right way from an evaluation standpoint, from a highlighting it in the activity standpoint? Like, it just...
I agree. I agree with Scott. I agree 100%. You know?
I'll use this to segue. So we're talking about like the demand, and I feel like still people are writing, like you're writing, everybody's writing to just like if you want to present the best musical package, you're going to do what you think is right, regardless of what the rules are. So modern drum corps requires certain things, and part of that is writing, part of that is rule changing, and part of that is staffing. And you had talked about how, like, back when you were there in '87, like, Tom was there all the time.
Yeah.
And now we have, like, these massive staffs, and people are like, oh my God, drum corps are spending so much money on these staffs. Like, they have 50 people on the percussion staff. It's like, no. These people aren't, it's not 50 people for 82 days straight.
Yeah, like if I have, I might have three snare techs, but I have one snare tech budget, that they divide between 3 people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not like we have snare tech budget times 3. No. It's one snare tech budget divided by 3. So they're not making, tons of money because of the time,
In I would say overall, nobody's getting rich doing this activity for sure.
No.
And people see that as like, oh, the Vanguard, like, well, look at their staff budget. I'm like, there's more to it than that. And that's all I'm going to say. But obviously, how important then becomes the communication level between you and your staff, and like how you guys are talking with, like, so-and-so's about to go off tour and so-and-so's about to come on tour. Like that has to go through the roof.
Yeah, I like to, I try to do overlaps too. Like, like for instance, this summer we're kind of talking through, like, this guy's going to do 3 weeks and this guy's going to do 3 weeks. So then, that week they're going to cross over so they can kind of start to understand where it's going. It's not just going to be, he's in on Sunday, he's in on Monday, or he's out on Sunday, he's in on Monday. Have at it. There's got to be some kind of dovetailing going on to make sure we're on the same page. The other thing is you got to make sure your staff's all on the same page in the wintertime as you're going through the teaching techniques in winter. So it's important to have as many staff at the winter camps so you can get on the same page there before you get to move-ins. And
that just seems super important, because the camp season is where you establish, like, here's how we're going to play, and we're going to try to establish how. Then I think of it as you do that in the camps. Spring training, you take what you established in the camps as the approach to hitting the drum, for example, and we're going to make it consistent. We're going to just ingrain what we established and taught you in the camps for a month straight, learn the show at the same time, apply it to the show music, and then we're going to refine, clean, and do what we need to throughout the tour to try to be as competitive and as successful as possible at the end. So, being on the same page in the camps seems like almost one of the most important parts of the season, going from month to month like that.
And honestly, adding to that, and this is what the pandemic kind of taught me, is we can have these Zoom sessions, and we can do them weekly if you want. You can do video sessions, way more video sessions now, where you don't just come to the camp and not have any instruction between each camp. Now it's like you have a camp, then you have this week's assignment, that week's assignment, leading up to the next camp. So when you just keep on going. So we're using technology to just keep on cranking ahead.
It definitely kind of drives out the last minute prep for camps. It's like, well, you gotta submit your video on week whatever to prove that you learn this stuff, not you're trying to figure it out in the car.
If I told you I learned some stuff on the way to camps in a car as a passenger, I'd be lying if I said I never did that.
I have a great insert for that for a guy who texted me earlier, which is Brian Byer, who told me to tell you hi. But he was notorious for learning shit on the way to camps. He's like, I just learned it in the car. I'm like, oh my God.
I love ice cream.
We all do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was definitely a positive vibe in the 09 summer. But yeah, I mean, the technology makes people more accountable, which is great. I mean, we all need accountability in life. Like, you just don't procrastinate for school, work, drums. I mean, whatever it is. I always tell kids I teach lessons to. They come back. I'm like, how much you practice this week? And they're like, well, I looked at it today. I'm like, we'll find out.
Yeah, I'll know in 10 seconds here how much you practiced, but.
Well, the other thing too is you don't have much time from the beginning of a season to move-ins. If you think about, you have especially now because of everybody involved with WGI lines.
Mm-hmm.
You have maybe 2 camps where you really have your drum line together until April.
Yeah.
So, and then the April camp becomes this huge thing unto itself before the move-in. So it's like really 3 camps before move-ins, which what's that, like, 6 days,
Yeah.
maybe? Not even 7, 8 days at the
Probably
most.
got like maybe a November. Well, everybody does such satellite camps now too. You got like December,
Yeah.
maybe a January, and then April.
Yeah,
So
that's
9 days maybe.
Yeah, so you better be doing things in between and making sure, you're, getting everything done. So when you hit move-ins, you're ready to go,
I've always said this, and I tell the high school kids that I teach, and I feel like this aligns with any sport or any activity. It's like you can't win a championship in preseason. Obviously, that's not when the game happens. That's not when the adjudication happens. But you can certainly lose one.
Oh yeah.
If you're just not doing the right things. And in that saying, isn't meaning that winning is everything, but it's just saying like you can't like mess around in preseason and expect to just have this great, like, awesome thing happen at the end of the year. It's like, no, you got to work the whole time. You got to build up to it.
Right.
So,
Right. Yep. Trust the process.
Trust the process. Every professional sport, college sport, high school sport, drum corps, everybody, it applies everywhere. It applies everywhere.
Just like 1987, trust the process. You might get a perfect score.
That's right. That's how it works.
Crazy.
Dude, that was a full circle comment right there. I'm pretty proud of that.
It's like a Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy, like brings it back to the joke starting 30 minutes beforehand. Well, is there anything we didn't touch on?
You guys did win semifinals and finals. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry?
I said you guys did win semifinals and finals. So it was pretty cut and dry, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
In 87, we actually got a perfect score like 2 weeks before finals.
Huh. Did not know that.
That's when it became like, hey, we could actually maybe get a perfect score this year. That's when it became like, whoa. Oh my God!
They've done it once. If we give them the goods, they'll do it again. Now they've shown they're willing to. So that's wild.
That's everybody. That's what everybody strives for.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection.
Well, Lee, do you have anything else you'd like to plug or add?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to talk about my illustrious career, as you put it.
Dude, hell yeah.
I've been around, but I appreciate to talk about it because it reminds me of all the great people I've taught with over the years and who have taught me over the years. It's kind of great to go back to memory lane and kind of think of all those. And obviously, I'm excited for the Crossman this year. And I'm really excited about the cadets right now and have the opportunity to keep the legacy going with all the greats that were before me who wrote for the Corps. So I'm excited. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'm stoked for this summer. And indoors, it's right around the corner too.
Obviously, it's impactful on the kids that are there and what they do. I mean, if you look behind me, there's 2 league groups. There's the green base head in my shadow box with my my silver medal and my 2010 feathers and stuff back there. I mean, that stuff means a lot. I don't teach anymore, but I mean, the activity gave so much to me. Like you talked about work ethic and just how I approach my job and my life. So I applaud all the kids that are out there auditioning still or who got contracted and the ones that will get contracted to come and the ones that just put themselves out there to audition. I mean, I think it's an incredible activity and what it does for your mentality and your ability to just put yourself out there as a person and like get critiqued. And I can't wait to see DCI 2023. So
awesome.
All right.
Well, we'll have to hook up. We'll do one of those post game reports.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, 100%. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're on there watching the video portion of the interview and hang out and like the video if you liked what we did. Facebook, Instagram. This was a great time. Lee, thanks for hanging out. I'm sure we'll see you at a WGI event this year or DCI next summer. But, we will see everybody in the next one.
Awesome.